Back in episode 5, we took an afternoon trip to Denmark to collect a few new pieces of furniture, one of which was the oak dresser featured in that video, the other was this thing here. This is another 1960s Danish Teak Secretariat or Bureau Desk, depending on which part of the world you're in. In German and Danish, the style of desk is called Sekretær, which simply means secretary. Personally, I really like these things, even though they are generally much too small for someone my size. And so I think this is the 4th or 5th one I've restored, just because I really like their general design, and also because they're generally pretty easy to sell. As you can see here though, this one was really beat up. It had big chunks smashed off the corners, it was covered in stains and scratches, there were about 6 or 7 places where the veneer was either coming off or damaged beyond repair, and to top it all off, it was literally falling apart, or at least most of the drawers were anyway. There was no maker's mark on this one, which is pretty common for pieces from this period, although I'm pretty sure I've seen this design before somewhere. In any case though, the first priority with this one was to get these structural repairs out of the way. This was just a case of going through the drawers one by one and re-gluing any of the joints which had come loose and then clamping them up to dry. With some of them it was just the mortise and tenon type joint at the back which had come loose, while on others it was also the hand-cut finger joints at the front which needed some more wood glue in them. As part of this process, I also needed to readjust the floor and back panels of the drawers so that everything was lined up square and level before the glue dried, which was a relatively quick and easy job with a nail gun. The bottoms of these drawers are often very thin, made from some kind of laminate or fiberboard, and so they were only ever really held in with staples from a nail gun to begin with. The next job was to continue disassembling the desk as much as possible. The extending desk plate was in really rough condition and was going to need a lot of sanding, and even then I had already accepted the fact that I might not be able to get all the scratches out of it. After that, it was time to remove the undercarriage so that it could be repaired and refinished separately. The only problem was that 2 of the screws holding it in were badly corroded and could not be taken out with a screwdriver or power drill. The only thing for it was to use an old carpenter's trick by putting a metal borer on the power drill and literally machining the head off the screw so that it could be pulled out from the outside. With everything taken apart, I moved on to stripping the finish off. It looked like it had been finished with some kind of light semi-gloss lacquer, which came off pretty easily after the stripper had done its job, and it also took some of the water and oil stains with it too, which was good. You can really see here just how much oil and dirt is coming out with it, which is why I almost always use paint stripper on these projects. While the stripper was drying off, I went around the damaged areas on the body to do a preliminary round of filler repairs, using the 2-part epoxy filler to rebuild the damaged corners and the water-based instant filler to fill out the minor veneer chips along the edges. Before I could start sanding though, I needed to do the veneer repairs. For this one, I decided that because the veneer damage on the drawers was all down the right-hand side, I would cut off and replace a thin linear strip on each drawer instead of trying to cut each piece to fit a custom size. I found some craft veneer samples which seemed to fit the existing wood grain well enough, in terms of the grain and the color at least. They wouldn't necessarily be a perfect match, but I was confident enough that I'd be able to blend them out when it came time to finishing. For one of the smaller drawers though, it was more than just missing veneer, and I had to use some epoxy filler to fill out some nasty dents and gouges, which were never going to be repaired properly with instant filler. To get all these veneer patches looking clean though, and to make sure they didn't come off again, I used a generous amount of hide glue and a large clamp to really press them down. One of the benefits of hide glue is that it's not water-based, and so it's less likely to cause swelling in the material or create additional mass once it's dried, which is something you have to consider for fine repairs like this. The next veneer repair was probably the trickiest part of the whole job, as it involved replacing the leading edge of the extending desk, where the veneer had chipped, peeled off, and was generally looking pretty bad. For some unknown reason, I decided that it would be better to replace the entire edge rather than simply replace the damaged patches, despite the fact that the veneer would need to fit around the 2 solid wood knobs on the front. I think what I was probably thinking here is that it would be a lot easier to just have one type of veneer in one area rather than trying to splice in something foreign and then make it look like it belonged there. But by the time I got to gluing it all together in sections, I definitely regretted that decision. This was starting to get really difficult, and it would have been a lot easier to just replace the missing sections and then glue the rest back down again. But there was no going back, and I was going to need to find a way to make it work. Off camera, I had put some wood stain on one of the large drawers just to see how the veneer patch matched up color-wise, only to find that it didn't at all. This was totally confusing, and I couldn't figure out what had gone wrong until I realized that I had used the wrong veneer to patch the drawers. As you can see here, they look relatively similar at a glance, but the one on the left is the one I should have used, as it's much closer to the original veneer, especially once it's been stained. So I had to do all three bottom drawers again. One of the things that with hide glue though is that it's water soluble, and so adding a few drops of water definitely meant that it came off a bit easier with a chisel. I then cut myself some new strips from the correct veneer, and it was really just rinse and repeat. The only difference this time being that I decided to use regular wood glue, as the substrate had become a little uneven and rough, and the wood glue might help level it off again so that the veneer patches were flat and smooth. I don't know what it is about these craft veneers, but you have to be really careful how much you sand them, because they can quickly lose their ability to retain the staining oil, and they will end up looking very light and shiny and basically sticking out like a sore thumb compared to the rest of the veneer. One of the objectives for this project was that I would only use what materials I had, rather than going and buying a fresh roll of teak veneer, which is not cheap, and there's no guarantee that it will even be a good match anyway. With the new veneer patches drying, it was time to start the sanding process, starting with the desktop. Once again, this was badly scratched and had a big tan line right down the middle from uneven UV exposure, so I had already accepted the fact that it would probably not be a perfect result. As much as I wish every project could be a perfect restoration, there are some jobs where you just have to change the goalposts a little bit and try to make it as good as it can be, given the constraints you're working with and the overall condition of the piece you're working on. With so many scratches in the desktop though, I needed to try and at least get some of them out. The steam iron on full power was the obvious choice for this job, and although it isn't always possible to eliminate every scratch, it definitely helped to lift up the fibers a little bit and make it easier for the sander to cut them off, which will generally give the wood grain a much cleaner look. With the desktop drying off, I used the opportunity to put some wood filler along the freshly veneered front edge, just to fill in any gaps between the new veneer splices and hopefully give it a more tidy and cohesive look. It was then back to the sanding on the main body. I'm pretty sure this thing had never been refinished, and so most of the veneer was probably thick enough, but I opted for 180 grit ceramic nets on the machine with the intent that I would do just one round of sanding to preserve the veneer as much as possible. Off camera, I had also done a veneer repair on the middle compartment of the desktop between the two banks of drawers. This is once again a situation where it probably would have been easier to just splice in a veneer patch for the missing veneer, but I was being adventurous with this thing, and so I replaced the veneer for this contoured facade thing along the top and the front edge of the wall on the right. It was then just a case of using a box cutter blade to trim along the contoured edge as neatly as possible. The challenge with this repair was that the standard Amazon craft veneers I'd been using all had a length of about 30 centimeters, while the top section here had a length of about 35 centimeters, which obviously meant that I couldn't just use one continuous piece for the repair, and so I had to make a join in the middle in a way that the wood grain looked continuous and as if it belonged there. But I used some filler in the join and then a sponge sanding block to smooth out the contour, and although it definitely wasn't perfect, it felt like it was starting to come together and would look a lot better once it had been stained and finished. The top shelf was a different story though. I had already sanded it with 180, but it was still covered in stains and scratches, and so I decided I would try some oxalic acid to try and bleach them out a bit. While the bleach was drying, it was back to the drawers. I had already removed the clamps to check the new veneer patches, and they were looking good, which meant that it was time to start sanding by hand. Fortunately, most of the veneer on the drawers was in relatively good condition and was easy to sand gently with 180 grit to preserve the wood grain as much as possible. One of the things I really love about these pieces is the continuous book-matched figuring that runs vertically down the drawer fronts, and so when it comes to repairs and finishing, you really want to try and enhance this as much as possible. Once again, I also needed to be equally careful when it came to sanding the veneer repairs. Some of these patches also needed wood filler just to fill out any little cracks, and as I mentioned before, these patches can become incredibly difficult to stain and color match if you oversand them, and so it's a real balancing act of trying to sand things smooth without overdoing it. In this case, it was better to err on the side of caution by leaving them a little rougher and more textured rather than create more problems down the road. After getting the rest of the hand sanding out the way, including the rest of the desktop and the undercarriage, it was finally time to stain everything. I personally think this design style always suits a rich golden red, which was the factory color for many of these Danish teak pieces from the 60s, and so I tend to use mahogany wood stain, which tends to have a lot more red in it than the teak options. This one is actually a gel stain, once again an outdoor weatherproof solution with UV and water resistant properties, but not one I've used very often. Like any timber with any stain, it will look different depending on the light levels and light angles, but at this stage I was able to get a rough idea of how it was all coming together. After letting the stain dry overnight, I returned to start the final finishing process. For this project, I decided to use garnet shellac, which is a de-waxed solution with a brownish red complexion. It's the darkest of all the shellac types with a very earthy color, which is great for bringing out the character in these vintage pieces, and I also knew it would really help with enhancing the red color tones in the mahogany stain too. In order to blend out all of the veneer patches and wood filler repairs though, I was going to need to build a lot of extra color through layering the shellac and the wood stain and using touch-up markers where necessary. It's often very difficult to get an exact color match, and so with so many different repair spots, it's really just about blending them out so that you don't see them unless you're looking for them. In my experience, the more damaged the piece is, the more finish will be required to blend out the repairs, and so with a piece like this, it's just a case of combining more and more wood stain and shellac until the repairs begin to disappear. With all of the touch-ups drying, it was time to start reassembling the desk to see how all of the different components would come together. While putting on some new felt gliders onto the legs, I noticed that the undercarriage was a little wobbly, so I took the opportunity to add some more screws just to stabilize it a bit better. After a final round of touch-ups with the furniture markers, I sealed the repair spots off with a lacquer pen and then sanded everything down with a 320 grit sponge in preparation for a final top coat with some wipe-on polyurethane. I'm normally not such a big fan of polyurethane, but there are certain jobs where it's a good fit, and I felt this was one of them. Because there had been so many repairs, I wanted a neutral, medium to high gloss top coat, which would give that extra layer of protection and durability, but without altering the nature of the finish in any significant way. It dries a lot quicker than varnish, and it kind of locks everything in, but I still added a little extra mineral spirits to it, really just in order to thin it out a bit and allow me to glaze over the top of it a little easier with stain. My approach is always the same, and that's just to apply as much as is necessary for even coverage. My plan was to do 2 coats on the main body and the drawers, and then 3 coats on the desk, as this would be seeing the heaviest use and would most likely need that little bit of extra resistance against scratches and scuffing. While the first coat was still wet, I used the opportunity to glaze over the veneer patches with pure undiluted wood stain to really punch in that red color and blend out the repairs. Because both the poly and the stain are solvent-based solutions, they will mix and dry together naturally at the same time, and so you don't have to worry about lines or layers or anything like that. There is definitely an art to it though, where you have to add a good heavy dose at first, but then quickly pull the excess off the top with a pad or paper towel so that you don't get these big sticky lumps and blotches forming. I was now entering the final phase of the project, which I refer to as the finishing touches phase, except that this part of the job can often be the most demanding and time consuming. It typically involves waxing all the finished surfaces, sanding and cleaning all of the drawers, putting everything back together, and making any last-minute adjustments to the functionality of the furniture. In this case, the top left drawer runner had somehow found itself out about 9 millimeters back from where it should have been. I have no idea how or why this happened, but I took it off and reinstalled it at the correct depth with some staples. This desk had actually already been sold to somebody we know before it was even finished, and so now the pressure was on to get these finishing touches completed so that it could be delivered the following day. And that was it. After loading it into the car, we were on the road to Old East Germany for the long holiday weekend, visiting family and friends. The German state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is one of my favorite parts of Germany, basically because there's hardly anybody there, and so you can really whiz along through the countryside on some really long and straight sections of Autobahn, where you've just got hundreds of kilometers of nothing but farmland with very few towns or cities. Of course, our friend was very happy to have me film the desk in its new home. Happy?
Yeah.
And she wasted no time in setting it all up to be used. Because this piece was never listed online, I didn't do a full photo shoot for it, but I did manage to snap a few shots of it before leaving the workshop. This was a really tough project that took a lot of time to get right, but although it was far from perfect, if you consider how badly beaten up this thing was at the beginning, I would call it a significant transformation. Thanks for watching.